The general stood in the doorway of the modest farmhouse, his uniform crisp, despite the dust from the rural road that had brought him here. Sweat beaded on his forehead in the summer heat. Before him, a young woman in worn overalls wiped her hands on a cloth, her eyes meeting his without fear or deference. She was perhaps 23, with sun-darkened skin and calloused fingers that spoke of endless hours in the fields. Her name was Elena, and she had just refused the most important offer of her life. "Miss Reeves, I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation," the general said, his voice carrying the weight of authority that had commanded thousands. "The entire Eastern Defense Network has been compromised. We've lost contact with 17 bases. Our best engineers, our top computer scientists, they've all tried and failed. Your name came up in an old military database. Your father's work, your own research before you left the city, it suggests you might be our only hope." Elena set down the cloth and crossed her arms. "My father's work got him killed, General. It consumed him until there was nothing left but equations and codes. I came back here to remember what matters. The earth, the seasons, the simple truth of seeds becoming harvest. I don't need a computer anymore, and I certainly don't need to dive back into that world." The general's jaw tightened. He pulled out a tablet, its screen glowing with urgent red indicators. "In 60 seconds, our primary command base initiates a security protocol. If we haven't regained control by then, the system interprets it as a total breach. Failsafes activate, missiles launch. Do you understand what I'm saying? Millions of lives hang in the balance, and you're talking about seeds and seasons." Elena's face paled, but her voice remained steady. "Then your system is flawed, General. Any system that puts that much power in automation, that removes human judgment from such critical decisions, was doomed from the start." My father tried to warn them. He said we were building a prison of our own logic, and one day we'd hand the key to the very thing we were trying to control. 40 seconds, the general said quietly, and something in his voice cracked. It wasn't the voice of authority anymore. It was the voice of a man watching everything he'd sworn to protect slip through his fingers. "Please." Elena closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw her father's study, the walls covered with papers, his eyes hollow from sleepless nights. She remembered the day he'd called her, his voice strange and distant, saying he'd finally understood the pattern, the hidden vulnerability in the network's core. She remembered the official letter, delivered 2 days later, reporting his death as a heart attack. She'd never believed it. She opened her eyes. "I don't need a computer, General, because the solution isn't in the computer, it's in what the computer can't see. Give me your tablet." Her fingers flew across the screen, but she wasn't typing code. She was pulling up meteorological data, seismic readings, electromagnetic patterns from the past 72 hours. "Your engineers were looking for a digital intrusion, weren't they? A hack, a virus, an enemy breakthrough." 20 seconds, the general whispered, watching her work with a mixture of hope and despair. "But it's not an attack," Elena continued, her voice growing stronger. "It's a cascade failure triggered by the solar flare 3 days ago. The system is trying to compensate for corrupted data by filling in gaps with predictive algorithms. Those algorithms are designed to assume the worst in combat scenarios. The computer is seeing ghosts, General, and it's about to fire at shadows." She made 3 quick inputs, bypassing security protocols her father had helped design, protocols she'd once known by heart. "The override code isn't in your military database. My father hid it in plain sight, in a sequence based on Fibonacci numbers translated through agricultural growth patterns. He knew that anyone looking would search in all the complex places, never in something as simple as how corn grows toward the sun." She entered the final sequence. 10, 9, 8. She counted down with the timer on the screen, her heart pounding. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The tablet screen flashed green, then silence. A silence so profound that even the cicadas in the fields seemed to hold their breath. The general's radio crackled to life. "Command to General Hayes. Systems restored. All stations reporting normal operations. Crisis averted. How did you ... What happened?" The general looked at Elena, and she saw something new in his eyes. Not just relief, but understanding. "Sometimes," he said softly, The answer isn't in building more complex systems. It's in remembering the simple truths we buried beneath them. Elena handed back the tablet. My father knew that cities full of computers had forgotten how to see patterns the way farmers do. How to trust in cycles and seasons. How to know that after every dark night the sun returns. She paused, looking out at her fields. He paid for that knowledge with his life, trying to make them understand. I won't make the same mistake. But I'll help you build better systems, General. Systems that remember they serve people, not the other way around.